name is Hannah and I'm vegan, but you already knew that. Today I'm going to give you a little tour of my pantry. Don't get too excited because I'm not a very organized type of person. Someone asked me in my last video to show what I have as my staples for food. The first thing I'm going to show you will probably cause you to assume things about me, like I'm zero waste. Nope. I just sort of like to reduce my waste in little ways here and there, and eventually over time I get better and better. I don't put pressure on myself to become fully zero waste. In order to reduce your plastic, you really got to buy a lot in bulk and have jars and space for the jars. But it's actually much prettier, don't you think? Like, I can keep this stuff out on my counter. I think it looks nice. This is a jar of barley grass juice powder that I always have because I like to those in my smoothies and banana ice cream. These are just old-fashioned oats. These are great not just for oatmeal itself, but also, you know, for recipes. They often call for oats like that. I love to keep white rice on hand because it cooks very, very quickly. I know it's not as nutritious as brown rice, but if I'm in a pinch, it takes me 10-15 minutes to cook tops, and oftentimes Eric and I get home from running and it's like 8 p.m. and that's the dinner I make, is white rice with some other veggie or something like that. I also really love to bake with gluten-free flour, and this is just some of my oats blended up, and then I just kind of put them in a jar. These are some red lentils that are also very easy to make. This is nutritional yeast. It's such a great thing to add to pastas and make things a little cheesy. I also really love tea, so I have black tea and green tea, and this is just my little strainer. And then here is my brown rice that I do keep, although I'm gonna be real, I cook white rice more often, and my teapot. Thank you. Here's my messy cupboard, and full of plastic packaging that I'm not ashamed of. I'm not ashamed. This is just a box of cookies that I've made. I need to have like a cute cookie jar. That's something I'll put on my wish list. I really like to keep these wraps on hand because if I get bored of salads, I can just put my salad with some sauce in a wrap, and it kind of like switches things up for lunch. Eric really likes to keep tortilla chips in the cupboard for when he has a hankering. I don't really eat a lot of chips just because they are way too addicting for me. I always keep vegan chocolate chips in my cupboard because, again, I really like to bake. This is just some steel cut oatmeal that I got when I was not at a bulk section. Whoops. This is sushi rice. Sometimes we make sushi. I always have gum. I don't know, I have an addiction to gum, especially bubble gum. I'm really fantastic at blowing bubbles. This is my Four Sigmatic mushroom coffee that I love. I don't have it every day. Here's something I always have is red curry paste. This is my favorite brand, simply because this is such an easy meal to throw together, and it's always a crowd pleaser. I love tahini. This is a brand that I really like. I also keep lots of peanut butter in my house. It's just a great thing for baking recipes and as a snack. I'm actually trying to stay away from almond butter and other nuts, tree nuts, simply because one of my best friends is highly, deathly allergic to nuts, and I just like her to feel as safe as she can in my house, and when I'm cooking for her, like, there's no cross-contamination or anything. I love keeping ramen. This is just some ramen noodles by Lotus Foods. We normally have about 5 of these McDougal pad thai or black bean or noodle soup cups in the house. He has lots of really good flavors. This is something really good for Eric if he needs a fast meal, you know, it takes 5 minutes. I've also been eating a lot of medicinal mushroom powders. I love keeping dried fruit in my pantry because this is another little sweet snack after a meal that satisfies me. So I have dried figs and dried mulberries, and these are great for oatmeal toppings as well. I have a bunch of strained tomatoes. This was my goal, is to like make homemade tomato sauce, like marinara. Yeah, I haven't really done that yet, so that's a goal. Just some millet, more noodles. These are like pad thai noodles. We eat a lot of noodles in this household, so I always make sure to have some. As far as canned goods go, we do eat a lot of beans in this house, and I'm trying to eat more beans from scratch, like make them dried, because it's actually not that hard, although it can be a little intimidating. Though sometimes I need a really quick can of beans, so that's why I keep like black beans, garbanzo beans, and kidney beans. And I always, always, always have coconut milk on hand. This is great for making curries and sauces and soups. Coconut flakes and dulse flakes. Another really handy thing to have is crushed tomatoes, because they can be used to make, you know, like a Mexican dish or an Italian dish. I guess this is sort of like my backup shelf. This is my backup maple syrup. I don't know what I'd do if I ran out of maple syrup, so always have an extra one. It's as important as having an extra toilet paper roll. Eric has his pasta that he really likes. This is the soy milk that I use. I love soy milk. I think it has the best consistency of all the vegan milks. And my favorite thing about this brand is the ingredients. It's literally just water and soybeans, so I don't have to worry about additives. You guys know I really don't cook with oil because of like the health benefits to eating low fat and low oil, but when I bake, I typically like to bake cookies that are gonna make people love them and go, what, this is vegan, and that requires fat. And I like having the liquefied version just because it's really easy to add to recipes and you don't have to like scoop out that gross hard coconut oil and microwave it. Extra peanut butter. And I like to buy veggie broth. It is so much easier. I don't like making my own veggie broth. I've tried many times and it just doesn't taste the same. I always have dates. Dates are very expensive when bought out of season and at a grocery store, not a farmer's market, but they're just such an easy fruit to add to things and to eat on their own, and they just make me feel good. I love dates. Salt and pepper, obviously. This is my variety of herbal teas. I drink herbal tea almost every day after dinner, after lunch. Now, I don't buy herbal teas in bulk just because that would be a lot of containers to have on my counter, and I just find this a lot more convenient. And plus, I love this brand, Traditional Medicinals, because everything's wrapped in paper and I don't have to worry about plastic. I love the throat coat tea even when I'm not sick. I think it's delicious. I like nettle and peppermint and lemon balm and fennel. I like turmeric and ginger. I love herbal tea. I drink it all the time. Here are the spices that I always am sure to have in my pantry. These are ones that I would use pretty much weekly. The ones I would probably use mostly for Mexican style dishes or spicy dishes are things like paprika, cumin for sure. I always have cumin, chili powder. I love to make chilies. Garlic powder, I just throw that in everything, and cayenne. I also love to have turmeric. This is great for coloring if you're making a certain soup or a sauce. It's also really good for tofu scrambles to give it that eggy look. Curry powder is another one. These often go together in recipes because I do make Indian-based curries as well as Thai-based curries. Oregano is a good one for like Italian dishes, and I'm always really sure to have crushed red pepper or chili flakes, I think they're also called. And then I also got this recently, a black salt to add to my tofu scrambles or my egg-like vegan dishes, and it's supposed to give it a sulfur sort of flavor because it's the natural flavor within black salt. My more sweeter side of spices, I always have vanilla extract for baking, cinnamon. I use this almost daily when I do oatmeal. I also really love ground ginger for oatmeal. Because I've mentioned baking so many times, I pulled out all my baking staples from my baking cupboard, but I did not show you my baking cupboard because it's ugly. This is one oil I do use. I love this spray coconut oil just for muffin tins, cupcake tins. My friend Caitlin has the most amazing recipe blog. It's called From My Bowl, and she's like my go-to recipe girl, and she uses coconut sugar in her recipes a lot, so I always keep that on hand. Arrowroot powder is something I always have lately because of the potato cake recipe that I constantly make from my friend Ashley. And for baking, you're gonna need baking powder and baking soda, cocoa powder, which is different than cacao powder, egg replacer. There's a Mexican chocolate cake recipe I make that requires vinegar, so I always keep this on hand because I make that for almost every single birthday, and just some regular flour. And I have to show our Cholula stash because we kind of have our OCD about running out of Cholula. If you guys have other ideas for videos that could be really helpful when it comes to vegan cooking and just like having a vegan kitchen and stuff like that, let me know. I might make it. Hey guys, I'm just gonna go on a run now. I just wanna take a second to tell you guys about Skillshare because they're sponsoring our video today. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with over 25,000 classes in design and business and marketing and video skills. Personally, I have been using Skillshare to up my food photography game. As much as I love making videos, I'm actually really not a natural born visual artist. I'm not very good at photography, but that doesn't mean I can't learn and become a little bit better. I like to call myself a lifelong learner, and this is what I love about Skillshare. Whether you're just a creative person or a curious person and you want to increase your knowledge about something or your skill set, this is the place for it. They're giving you an offer. So the first 500 of my subscribers to click the link in the description get a 2-month free trial, and then after that, an annual membership is only like $10 per month. This 2-month free trial is an unlimited access trial, so it really gives you the full experience of what it would be like to have an annual membership to Skillshare, and maybe you guys can join me in the food photography skills class and teach me a thing or two.